We often talk about enlightenment as this beautiful, transcendent moment, a space where we finally break free of ego, suffering, and the illusions of the material world. But what most people don't realize, what few dare to discuss, is what happens to the body after enlightenment. It's not all bliss and serenity. Sometimes, the body responds in ways that are downright frightening. Enlightenment, as you know, isn't about leaving the body behind. It's about integrating this newfound awareness, this profound shift in consciousness, with the physical form that we still inhabit. And that's where things get interesting, sometimes terrifying. You see, the body, after enlightenment, is still bound by certain natural laws. We may awaken to the eternal, the infinite, but our body remains very much a part of this transient material world.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lessons.
Have you ever wondered what happens when this finite physical form tries to hold the infinite? This is where the real fear begins. The body, being limited and temporary, doesn't always understand the vastness of what the mind has just experienced. It's like trying to fit the ocean into a cup. Something has to give. Many spiritual seekers and even gurus have spoken in hushed tones about how the body reacts to enlightenment. For some, it's blissful at first, but as the energy of enlightenment continues to flow through them, strange things begin to happen. Sudden illnesses, unexpected pains, and unexplained phenomena occur. They find their body reacting violently as if it's rejecting this new state of being. And then there's the question you should ask yourself: what happens when your body no longer fits the frequency of your new reality? Enlightenment is like turning on a light switch in a room that's been dark for centuries. Suddenly, every cobweb, every crack in the wall, every flaw is illuminated. This light shines so brightly, but here's the scary part: it doesn't just illuminate the room. It reveals the limits of the very house you live in, your body. Imagine living in a house all your life and believing it's the best shelter you could have. Then, one day you discover that the house is sitting on a fault line. A major shift is coming, and the house starts to tremble. Walls crack, windows shatter. You realize that the house, the body, can't handle the magnitude of what lies beneath it. You can't go back to ignorance. You can't pretend you didn't see the cracks. But where do you go from there? I experienced this myself after a particularly deep meditation retreat. I thought I had touched the infinite, the eternal, and in many ways I had. But when I returned to my daily life, my body rebelled. For weeks, I felt as if I were sick, though no doctor could tell me why. It wasn't a virus or a disease. It was as if my body was struggling to catch up with the awareness I had gained. I wondered, how can something so beautiful, so profound, cause such physical suffering? You might find yourself asking, is this normal? Yes, it is. You see, after enlightenment, your body becomes hyper-aware. It's as if the protective veil of ignorance has been lifted, and you start to feel everything more intensely: the sensations, the aches, even the tiniest shift in energy. And because you've become so in tune with the universe, your body now feels things it never felt before. It reacts to the vibrations of people around you, to the energy of places, and even to the shift in planetary forces. You're no longer just a physical being. You are now a conduit for energy, both positive and negative. This raises a very deep question for you to contemplate. How do you manage a body that no longer operates on the same frequency as the world around it? The scariest thing about your body after enlightenment isn't just the physical sensations or the heightened awareness. It's the growing sense that your body no longer fits. Your soul, now awakened, begins to feel too vast for the limited space it occupies. You feel constricted, and this is terrifying. I know it sounds strange, but once you taste the infinite, once you touch that place where time ceases and boundaries dissolve, the body can feel like a prison. The once comforting boundaries of your physical form now seem suffocating. There's a constant tension, a pull between the limitless expansion of your consciousness and the very real limits of your flesh and bones. You might wake up one day and feel as if your skin is too tight, as if your bones can barely contain the energy surging within you. It's unsettling, and for many, this experience can trigger anxiety and fear. I've had conversations with people who were so overwhelmed by this sensation that they wish they could escape their bodies entirely. You ask yourself, if my body is temporary and limited, how do I continue to live in it while knowing my soul is boundless? That's the paradox. Enlightenment shows us that we are infinite, yet we remain in a form that is not. The body grows old, weakens, and eventually dies. And yet, after enlightenment, we realize that none of this truly matters. And that's where the fear comes, from this dual awareness of our physical fragility and spiritual immortality. You might begin to question the very nature of life. If the body is just a temporary vehicle, why does it feel so real? Why does it cause us so much suffering? And how do we reconcile the infinite nature of the soul with the finite nature of the body? There's a very practical piece of advice I can offer here: be gentle with your body. Enlightenment is a profound shift, but the body takes time to adjust. You must learn to live in harmony with it, even when it feels too small for the vastness of your being. This is not a sign that something is wrong. It's a reminder that you're growing, evolving, expanding. But the body, just like a house, requires maintenance and care. You must nourish it, even as you transcend its limitations. You may ask, is it possible to balance both the enlightened mind and the physical form? The answer is yes, but it requires patience. You must learn to ground your awareness in the present moment, even as your consciousness expands beyond the material world. It's a delicate dance between the infinite and the finite, the eternal and the temporary. Now, as we transition into the next part of our exploration, I want you to consider this: what if the fear we feel in our bodies after enlightenment is not a sign of weakness, but a doorway to even greater awareness? We'll explore this in the next section. As we move deeper into this journey, let's return to the question, what if the fear we feel in our bodies after enlightenment is not a sign of weakness, but a doorway to even greater awareness? When you experience the fear, the discomfort, the sensation of being trapped in a body that feels too small, it's natural to want to escape. You might want to meditate more, disconnect from the physical, and retreat entirely into the vastness of your spiritual experience. But here's the key: enlightenment isn't about escaping the body. It's about embracing it fully, even with all its limitations, and seeing the body not as a prison, but as a portal. You might be thinking, how can something so fragile and temporary act as a gateway to the infinite? The answer lies in shifting your perspective. The body, despite its limitations, is a tool, a sacred tool. It is through this physical form that we are able to experience the divine in the material world. Without the body, there is no contrast, no growth, no opportunity for transformation. Consider this: the very fact that the body decays, weakens, and dies is what makes our spiritual journey so profound. If we were eternal in our physical form, there would be no urgency to grow, no need to seek enlightenment. It is the fragility of the body that drives us to seek something more, something eternal. The body, in its imperfection, pushes us to transcend it, not by leaving it behind, but by fully integrating the infinite into the finite. This brings up a crucial question for you. Are you willing to accept the limitations of your body, not as obstacles, but as teachers? What many people fail to understand is that the fear we feel in our bodies after enlightenment is not something to run from. It's something to move through, to face head-on. That fear is pointing you to the very place where your next stage of growth lies. When the body reacts, whether through illness, pain, or discomfort, it's signaling that something deep within is being brought to the surface. It's a call to pay attention, to dive deeper into the integration of body and spirit. I remember a time when my body felt like it was rebelling against me after a particularly intense spiritual retreat. I had spent weeks in deep meditation, expanding my consciousness, touching the infinite. But when I returned home, my body collapsed. I felt weak, sick, as if all the energy I had accessed had somehow overloaded my physical form. I was scared, confused. How could something so beautiful, something so liberating, cause so much physical suffering? In those moments, I was forced to confront a truth that changed everything for me. The body is not separate from enlightenment. It is a vital part of it. I began to see my physical suffering not as a consequence of my spiritual growth, but as a necessary part of it. My body was telling me something profound. It was showing me the places where I was still holding tension, still resisting the flow of energy, still clinging to old patterns of fear and control. The body, after enlightenment, becomes a mirror. It reflects everything that's still unresolved within us. And while this might seem terrifying at first, it's actually an incredible gift. The body shows us where we still need to grow, where we still need to release, where we still need to surrender. And this leads to a question that we must all ask ourselves: what is my body trying to tell me? When you listen to your body, when you stop fighting against it and start working with it, something incredible happens. The body begins to align with the soul. It stops resisting the flow of energy and starts to become a vessel for it. You begin to experience the physical world in a whole new way. The sensations in your body become richer, deeper. You become more attuned to the subtle energies around you. Every breath, every movement, every sensation becomes an expression of the divine. But this alignment doesn't happen overnight. It requires patience, awareness, and above all, trust. You must trust that your body is capable of holding the vastness of your soul. You must trust that the fear, the discomfort, the pain is not a sign that something has gone wrong, but a sign that something is changing. Your body is evolving, just as your consciousness has evolved. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that enlightenment means leaving the body behind. But true enlightenment is about bringing the body with you. It's about walking through the world as a fully integrated being, mind, body, and spirit aligned in harmony. This is the ultimate challenge, and it's also the ultimate reward. So how do we practically navigate this process? How do we face the fear and discomfort that arises in the body after enlightenment. Here's one of the most powerful practices you can adopt: grounding. After experiencing enlightenment, your energy can become so expansive that it feels like you're floating, disconnected from the physical world. Grounding helps to bring your awareness back into the body, to anchor the vastness of your soul into the here and now. You can do this through simple practices like walking barefoot on the earth, focusing on your breath, or practicing mindful movement like yoga or Tai Chi. Another important practice is self-compassion. It's easy to become frustrated with the body when it doesn't seem to keep up with the soul's evolution. But remember, the body is doing its best. It's adapting, evolving, and transforming right alongside your consciousness. Be gentle with it. Treat it with the love and care it deserves. Nourish it with healthy food, give it rest, and allow it the space to heal and grow. Finally, you must learn to listen to your body. Enlightenment doesn't mean ignoring the physical form. It means becoming more attuned to it. Your body is speaking to you all the time, but often we're too caught up in our thoughts to hear it. Pay attention to the subtle signals your body is sending you. When you feel tension, ask yourself, what am I holding on to? When you feel pain, ask yourself, what am I resisting? The body, after enlightenment, becomes your greatest teacher. It will show you where you are still out of alignment, where you are still holding fear, where you are still clinging to control. And when you can face these places with courage and compassion, you will find that the fear begins to dissolve. The body becomes not a prison, but a sacred vessel, a gateway to the infinite. As we come to the end of this journey, I want to leave you with this thought: the scariest thing about your body after enlightenment is not the fear itself, but what lies on the other side of it. When you move through the fear, when you embrace the body as part of your spiritual path, you will discover a depth of awareness, a richness of experience, and a connection to the divine that you never thought possible. This is the true beauty of enlightenment, not the escape from the body, but the full integration of it. You are both infinite and finite. You are both spirit and flesh. And in this union, you will find the greatest freedom, the greatest joy, and the greatest peace.